These large arrangements can add a lot of production value to your events, and if arranged with the tips from this video, they can be used over and over again and remain customizable. So let's get right into the top DIY tips to arrange all your silk floral centerpieces in your floral arrangements for weddings and events. These arrangements will sit above the eye level on the table and occasionally the floor. They sit on tall stands called harlow stands, which are easy for guests to see through. They keep your arrangement high above your head, and guests can still communicate and talk to each other. These are by far our most popular item to use for weddings. Such glamour in these beautiful arrangements certainly doesn't come without a cost. Prepping these flowers is just as excruciating and time-consuming as using fresh flowers, sometimes even more so. But they do last a lot longer, so that adds to the benefit of using them. It's important to use really good foam because you don't want to spend all this time and energy creating these beautiful designs and then have them either A, fall apart, or B, never be able to use them again. In this video, I'm actually strapping the foam and the piece to the base. Often I will just make the arrangement without the base attached to it and attach it later. This makes transportation much easier when doing big weddings and events. Make sure it's very secure, but don't put too much tape or you lose the ability to poke away at your arrangement. Sometimes clients prefer fresh flowers, but those are a one-time thing. So one of the benefits of using silk flowers is that they are bright and long-lasting, and they are the bread and butter of any rental company. These can be customized and they can be used again and again. There is a big difference between arranging silk flowers and fresh flowers. Fresh flowers are naturally beautiful, but they're all a bit different. And dethorning roses is never a real pleasure, but seeing and smelling fresh roses is a wonderful thing. Stay tuned for our fresh flower arrangement videos. Those are coming soon. Make sure you subscribe now. Silk flowers, on the other hand, are all very consistent and all very symmetrical and all the same. So when you're arranging them, it's important to kind of put them in different patterns so they're not exact. Otherwise, they do look very fake. The other thing that's important is using a variety of different brands and styles and shades of the same color, because that makes them look a bit more natural. Also, using different styles and types of greenery in your arrangements will help give it a more natural effect. Sometimes you'll receive these silk flowers, and if they're not a very high quality, you really have to shake them out, you have to spread them out, and the hairdryer trick is absolutely priceless. You have to blow dry them so that the plastic can open up. A lot of times the greenery is all identical, and nothing looks more fake with flowers than having things be completely identical. So it's important to trim them at different sizes to help you with your arrangement, but also to give it a more natural look.
It's like we just made a big salad. Flower salad.
You definitely want to shake out those hydrangeas and give it a more natural and full look. I also have to fight with the stems a lot and often. We haven't even talked about stabbing into the foam yet. Let's start with some ruscus greenery around the base. You may want to start in the corners and kind of fill in as you go. This is a good method that I use often to make sure that I kind of get every spot, but I'm not overusing the greenery because you don't want to run out or spend too much money on materials. Another method is just going all the way around the base. The 4 sides method. We also want to create some structure with our greenery or our flowers, so starting with the center and kind of coming up with a round ball version of these flowers is helpful. You can start at the top and work your way around and down, or like I did in this video, I started at the base and worked my way up. You can work this with the greenery, or you can work this with your hydrangeas or base flower. It's good to have kind of a method of attack. Sometimes I'll start with the larger flowers like hydrangeas and go around the bottom and work my way to the top. and other times I'll start at the top and work my way down to the bottom. Either way is completely acceptable. It's really a matter of how much you want to spend on materials, how much time you have, and the structure of your floral arrangement. Hydrangeas are one of the most commonly used flowers for weddings. I think it's because they fill the space so much, and that gives you a really full white effect, where other flowers are smaller and you would have to get probably 500 roses to fill an entire flower ball, depending on the size of it. So you can use less materials and more flowers if you use these big hydrangeas. So sometimes when we're trimming down these large stems hydrangeas, we may have the wrong size. Same with roses or other florals. So it's okay to take it out, trim it down, and put it back in. If you try and get it in the same hole that you put in the first time, that actually helps save the foam a little bit. You don't want to overstab the foam because it will fall apart and it won't last as long or look as beautiful. Don't worry about your arrangement looking exactly round. We want it to look more natural, and natural hydrangeas are never perfect. Having a little space between them or having it be a little kind of groovy or bumpy is a really good look because you want it to look like real flowers. With all of this big floral action, don't forget about the small details. We always want to have accent pieces and what we would call spray in our arrangements. These little flowers and little accent pieces really give it a more natural look and give the design some depth. Sometimes when using silk flowers, you actually get bouquets that are already created. Now they are usually all the same flower, but you can put them in and stab them in as one big piece and spread out all the flowers if they're the right height and size. This saves a lot of time and energy from over trimming. If you're doing smaller arrangements and you only need one or two of the little spray roses or additional flowers, you may just want to trim them and use them one by one. But in the larger arrangements, sometimes it's beneficial to keep it all as one piece and let them spread out. This also keeps a little bit of height in the stems as well. A lot of these arrangements can be kind of tricky. You don't want to put all of your greenery into the arrangement and then start adding flowers because you may waste materials. You may want to put your initial round of greenery to create the shape of your arrangement, add all of your beautiful flowers and elements, and then just go back and fill in some of the bits and pieces that are showing green foam or where it just looks like it needs a little more filler. I think arranging smaller centerpieces is a little bit different than arranging the big centerpieces. Sometimes I find that the larger the centerpiece, it's actually easier in some ways because you're creating this grand design and you're just putting a few of these pretty accent flowers, but more or less the shape and the style is there. Sometimes when we're creating bridal bouquets or corsages or even boutonnieres, there's actually a lot more detail and they're smaller. So if you make a mistake, it's quite obvious. The other thing that's really cool about silk flowers is you can get them in any style or color or size or shape, and they don't even have to be in season, and they don't even have to be realistic. If you want something really out of this world, you can make that happen with silk flowers. Stay tuned for our upcoming videos. We will be having a smaller centerpiece video, including mason jars for fresh flowers and silk, and we will also have a video that features boutonnieres, corsages, and bridal bouquets. Be selective, be intentional, and get inspired with the content on our channel. Subscribe now.